What is happening, all you sexy YouTube warriors out there? Range Day Bro back at it again, and today we're going to be talking about why stock Glocks suck and milled Glocks rock. Let's get into it. Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. Before we start talking about the slide milling, which is my absolute favorite upgrade to do to my Glocks, I want to just squash the elephant in the room, which is the Glock trigger. Everyone's going to say the first thing you should upgrade on your Glock is the trigger. I disagree. For my purposes, carrying every day, in my life depending on it, carrying appendix, I want to make sure that the trigger is stock, safe, drop safe, all that good stuff. I don't like to mess with trigger components. What I do say is if you're going to upgrade the trigger, make sure you use the same components for all the trigger components so that there's no issues with stacking tolerances. However, once again, I don't think it's necessary. Gen 5 Glock triggers are pretty great. Most of what people are trying to accomplish with an upgraded trigger can be trained for and can be worked out through training. Just knowing your trigger. Today, we're going to ghost this thing for you. Getting up close, we have a little bit of squish here, a little bit of creep, and then a break. Once again, the reset's nice and short. And when you're shooting, you don't want to let the trigger go all the way out. You want to just let it reset to the wall. And then that way, if you need to, you could break another shot, so on and so forth. To the wall, break again. And so, at least on the Gen 5 Glocks, I have absolutely no issue with keeping these things stock. The only thing I do recommend, or if you would like to, stipple the grip and do a double undercut on the trigger guard. That's what I prefer to do with my Glocks. So that's all I'm going to say about the trigger. I know a lot of you guys may be furiously typing away in the comments about how trash this trigger is or how that's the first thing you'd upgrade, but I just disagree. And for my friends, my family, my viewers who want my opinion, there it is. All right, so now we can talk about my favorite upgrade, which is milling the slide. Specifically, we're going to be talking about Maple Leaf Firearms. They're the ones who did this tremendous 5X slide that you see right here. That thing looks like a freaking crazy bull in the front there. And from all the intro footage, I'm sure you guys have seen all of its sexiness up close and personally. But let's talk about Maple Leaf Firearms in some more detail. But before we get into all that, let's talk disclosures. What is my relationship with Maple Leaf Firearms? Well, they did send me this slide right here. None of the internals they sent. It was just a stripped upper slide Gen 5 for this Glock 17 you see right here. However, long before they sent me this slide, I was a customer of theirs. In fact, these two other Glocks right here that they milled long before I started the YouTube channel, as well as one other 17 slide that you guys saw in the intro. So I was a customer of Maple Leaf Firearms long before I ever received this slide. And the reason they sent me this slide is because I asked for it, guys. I did ask them to send me one of these out because I was curious and I wanted to upgrade my everyday carry. And so they did. So I really appreciate those guys over there. And as a special treat for you guys today, Maple Leaf Firearms gave me a discount code for you guys, the viewers, to use. Does not get me any kickback. However, hopefully it can help you guys save a little bit of money if you decide to go with Maple Leaf Firearms for your milling services or a complete slide like this. It's going to be Range Day Bro 25. Using that's going to get you $25 off any order of $100 or more for a slide cutting service or a complete slide like you see right here on this 5X. Which takes me into the next point. What exactly does Maple Leaf Firearms do? Well, in short, they started by milling slides. So Glocks are notorious for being bricks. Obviously, these ones are not. These ones are pretty highly customized. But I will show you a couple slides that they milled for me in the past. Here we have the Glock 19. This is a standard Glock 19 you see right here. This is their duty cut because this comes as a Gen 5 with front serrations. They enhanced them. They also added a sawtooth pattern to the top of this guy and cut an RMR Holosun optic cut back here with the rear sight forward. That will be the theme going forward, as you guys will be able to see clearly. That is my preference. I like to have the rear sight in front of my red dot. I know it's still there. I know it's technically still blocking the window. However, my eye sees past it better and to the target better because, again, you're shooting both eyes open with a red dot and you're not focusing on the dot, the irons, or anything. You're focusing on the target. That's the whole point of a red dot. So for me, it just kind of eliminates one more barrier to seeing the target through the window of my dots. It just makes it less of a focus, more of an afterthought. And that way, if my red dot ever goes down, then I could still use my iron sights. I know it does decrease your sight radius, but it's not enough of a difference for me to really care, especially with how reliable red dots are these days. And going to my 19X here, a lot of you guys really enjoyed this video I put out on this guy a long time ago. This guy has the Valkyrie cut on here. So this is it's kind of like a diamond shaped pattern. And I'll roll in some close-up footage of this guy. And it also has the PMM Parker Mountain Machine comp on here. I really am a huge fan of the PMM comps. They just look the best. They just perform really well. In fact, in the video in the intro, you heard me after shooting all my other Glocks going to this guy with the comp on there and just immediately being able to tell the difference. When you're shooting this on its own and you're not going back and forth, it can kind of be lost on you, the improvement that you get of the recoil reduction from the comp. But I was just like, dude, it was crazy the difference. Dude, you can fucking tell. Left that blooper in there on purpose on camera so you guys could just tell how much of a difference it was when I noticed it. But again, rear sight forward, their Valkyrie cut here. Nothing super crazy, really good looking machining. They did this Coyote Troy, I believe it is, Cerakote, which matches as best as they could to the actual color of the 19X grip. So a huge fan of this guy. I have the Safari Precision barrel. Say what you will about the Safari Precision. I've never had an issue with this barrel. So I know they're cheaper, more budget line of barrels, but again, it's what I had on hand from a previous build. Threw it in here and it runs just fine. And I also have the RMR here in the back. That's another example. And then lastly, we have the OG slide that they milled for me. This was the first thing they ever did for me. Again, long before I started the channel, this is my original OEM Glock 17 slide. They did their agent cut. I don't know if they still have this cut or if it's different in any way. This was about 4 or 5 years ago at this point, guys. And again, rear sight forward. Ever since I did it with this one gun, I've just fell in love with that configuration. And they did this one a combination of burnt bronze and midnight bronze, so it gave it a little bit more of a really dark, beautiful look to the slide. So that's the first part of the services they offer. You could send them your OEM slide and they mill it for you exactly how you want. Optic cut, different windows, different designs, enhanced serrations, enhanced in the rear. Just go to their website and you guys can see exactly everything they do. They also sell red dots and iron sights and all that as well, so that you can pick all that up in one place and kind of have the slide come back ready to go. But again, that's the first part of what they do, and that's kind of their bread and butter, what they started doing. And now more recently, they've been selling complete slides. And that brings me to the 5X that you see right here. So this slide is available for purchase on their website. I'm in love with this slide. Once I saw it, once I figured out that they had these for sale, I immediately reached out to those guys and asked them to send me one because I wanted to upgrade from my OEM slide with the windows in it. I'm just not a huge fan of the windows. I know it's an EDC, it's under my shirt. I'm not rolling around the dirt of the desert with it, but I still feel more comfortable having a complete covered shroud on my barrel to prevent debris and whatnot from getting in there and causing any malfunctions. I just really wanted to upgrade that. I know the first thing you guys are gonna say is that there's no iron sights on here. I'm waiting on a pair of iron sights to come in for testing and evaluation, so I didn't throw anything on here yet, but honestly, I'm really digging the ironless look. It looks really sleek. I'm just in love with the look. It's just a super clean, like race car look almost, and it's super aggressive, especially at the nose there as well. So I'm a huge fan of it. I'm honestly digging it more and more without the iron sights. I am an advocate for iron sights, especially when your life depends on it for a backup. You never know with electronics, there's failure points. So as good as these things have become, when your life depends on it, I still recommend keeping iron sights on there. So aesthetically, this is one of the most beautiful slides I've ever seen in my entire life. I'm instantly fell in love with it the moment I saw it. And then when I got it in my hands, I was even more in love with it. The angle, the grip, this is their stonewash nitride. The stone washing really takes a lot of the edge off on a lot of these hard edges, these harsh edges rather. So it makes it really smooth. Going forward, there's absolutely no grip at all. Very smooth. So drawing from a holster, any of that, it's not gonna get you hung up. But going back is absolute grip nightmare. I mean, I could probably shred cheese with this thing. That is how grippy it is, but it is such a satisfying, there's no question about whether or not you're going to be able to grip that slide. As well, back here, they've enhanced these serrations. So going forward, again, these are angled now. So going forward, you feel very little resistance, very little friction, but coming back, absolutely an improvement over the stock serrations in the back. So these have a little bit of an angle on them going forward like so. So aesthetically, I mean, absolutely, the fit and finish is absolutely phenomenal on this thing. And they do have their little logo here on both sides of the gun. Not too loud, really small and etched in. So I really appreciate the subtlety in that. Nothing super fancy. It is made to work, but it is incredibly beautiful. They are not using OEM slides. They get them in as blanks and they machine them. So all the machining is done in-house on their 5-axis CNC machines. And again, it's top notch. I've never had a malfunction with any of my slides that have been milled by Maple Leaf Firearms. And that is the reason I sold my Zev, because I paid $1,800 for a Gucci Glock and I was having way too many malfunctions. That is the reason I went back, sold my Zev, and now I have all OEM Glock slides. This is my first aftermarket slide, which we're going to get into the experience of this in a second. But so what's in the box? So this is the box it shipped in. You open it up, got a little logo, a little cut foam in the middle, and we have another piece of foam protecting your slide. That's where your slide would sit right there. And then we have this little tin right here. This is an important tin. So let's pull this out. There's nothing else in the box. Test fire certificate. So right on this card, it's going to tell you the slide, the serial number. They do a lot of in-house tracking so they can track if there's any issues. They also include the test casings in here. So they have 3 casings. I do like that they actually test fire these things, make sure that they function before they send them. They sent me an optic plate cover as well as the screws, which I have put on my Glock 19 here because I lost the other one that was on here. So that's the optic plate cover. You don't need it, but it does look aesthetically better than just the gap there, as well as the screws for your optic. So you just specify whatever optic you want. These ones are for the RMR and SRO. But one last thing that is important to mention, because I ran into this issue because I, just like you guys, don't really like to follow directions. On the back of this card, it has this message right here, which says, this slide has been individually test fired and is guaranteed to function properly. It is designed for use with an OEM Glock frame using OEM Glock internal components only. That is very important. When I tell you why, you'll understand why. And the use of aftermarket parts other than the OEM Glock components will void its function guarantee and your slide's warranty. So very important to note, because I ran into that issue with my Brownells Gen 5 aftermarket slide components. So what exactly happened? I couldn't find OEM Glock Gen 5 slide components on the interwebs, and I'm impatient, as many of you are, and so I just ordered some from Brownells. They're about $65. So I put it all in here, we went to the range and we started firing the thing, and then within probably 3 or 4 mags, I started getting my slide to be locked back about right there, as you guys will see in the footage. Now I spoke to the owner of Maple Leaf Firearms and said, hey man, I really love this slide, but I want to use this for my EDC, but it's having way too many malfunctions. At one point I was having a malfunction every single round on one of these mags. It wasn't happening every mag, but that was enough for me to be like, okay, this is a problem. So I called him, I asked him what was going on. He goes, did you use OEM slide components? And I said, no, I didn't realize it was that big of a deal. And he goes, yeah, 100%. The Brownells extractors, the aftermarket extractors, tend to be very sharp, and when they're not broken in, it can tend to cause that casing to get stuck when it's sliding up into batteries. So I took my OEM slide that they milled for me years ago, took out all the components of it and threw it in this slide, and I went back to the range to do a function check and to do 400 round reliability test, because before I ever put this on my waistband and go defend my family or walk around society with it, I need to know that it's going to work no matter what. So I took out 400 rounds and I did a reliability test, and here's that footage. So now you guys are watching the footage. Obviously the internet always wants proof, so I'm giving you guys visual proof. However, I will tell you this thing had 0 malfunctions out of 400 rounds right after we changed the slide parts out to the OEM Glock slide parts. So if you're going to buy one of these 5X slides from Maple Leaf Firearms, it is really important that you use OEM Glock parts, because clearly aftermarket parts are going to affect the reliability of this, and the whole point of using a Glock is because of the reliability. So if you don't have that, just go buy something else. That is a very important distinction to make. I am very, very happy, because I was very disappointed actually after the first range trip and having all those malfunctions, but now that I've put the OEM slide parts in here, it has been 100% reliable. I was using 24 grain, brand new Freedom Munitions FMJ. I also use some of my Federal HST 124 grain hollow point ammunition, which is my self-defense ammunition, and it ran great with 1 mag of that. I'm not mag dumping that for 400 rounds. That gets very expensive. If you guys want to support the channel and buy me some ammo for my next test, head over to rangedaybro.com, pick up some merch. We got t-shirts, we got all that kind of good stuff. Or if you want to do something that's free to support the channel, you can hit the subscribe button, comment down in the comment section, hit that like button. It really helps me out. Appreciate you guys. So for a little bit more context, I only brought 2 mags to the range. I forgot my other mag, so I was stopping only to reload my mags as quickly as possible because it was hot and I didn't want to be at the range that long that morning. So I was loading as fast as I could. My thumbs are still sore, and shooting as fast as I could. You could see the gun gets very hot by the end of the test. So it's not quite like these Sage Dynamic burn downs, because we're doing 400 rounds, not 5. And also I didn't have all the mags already loaded. But I promise you the gun was very hot and was uncomfortable to holster in my appendix holster by the end of the test. So with that being said, I think this thing absolutely went through its paces. By the end of it, most of the oil had burned off or had been completely dirty. The barrel was very dirty, and it was still functioning reliably. Not one single malfunction at all. No magazine related malfunctions, no ammo related malfunctions. So 100% consistency with the reliability, which makes me very happy, and also got this thing promoted to being my EDC slide, which is awesome. So that's pretty much going to sum up my Maple Leaf Firearms review. Yes, this is mostly an aesthetic upgrade, guys. I want to be very clear that having a red dot, having this cool serrations, cool guy serrations for your press checks on the front of your gun is not going to make you a better shooter. It's not going to make you more competent. So if you don't have the cash to invest in this and ammo and training, then I'd recommend investing in the ammo and training first. However, if you do want to upgrade your Glock slides, whether you want to upgrade your OEM one, get it milled and send it out, or you want to hang on to that one because you only have one gun and you want to buy something pretty freaking badass like this guy and then run this whenever it comes in, just make sure you're using OEM slide parts like I mentioned, OEM barrel, OEM spring, all that good stuff, then you're good to go. Maple Leaf Firearms is the place I would send you guys, and with Range Day Bro 25, you can save 25 bucks. None of that goes back to the channel. That's just because they were cool and wanted me to help you guys out. So if you guys want a cool guy press check without worrying about your finger slipping, then go check out Maple Leaf Firearms. That's gonna be it for today, guys. Thank you so much for stopping by the channel. And until next time, stay safe, stay dangerous. Range Day Bro, out.